Hey everyone, should you file for Social Security before it goes bankrupt? Should you get it while the getting is good? You don't have to read very far into the comments of my videos to see that that's a fairly common thought among those who haven't yet filed for Social Security, and I can understand why too. If there's a possibility of benefit cuts in the future, wouldn't it make sense to go ahead and file for benefits before they are cut? Today, I'm going to dive into this and answer this question once and for all. But before we get too far into that, I do think that it's pretty clear that the next few years are going to bring more change to the system than we've seen since the program was signed into law back in the 1930s. As these changes start to work their way through the system, I'm going to be right here breaking them down. So if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe and hit that notifications bell too. Now, before we dive in too far, I do want to clear something up. I've heard two versions of why someone should file early before benefits are cut. The first is someone wants to file as early as they can to get as many months of benefits before benefits get cut. And the other version is someone wants to file and get as much as they can in benefits before benefits are stopped completely. So to be clear, Social Security is not going away and benefits are not going to stop completely. That's not even a threat. What's actually going on is that the Social Security Trust Fund is running out. Now, this is the equivalent of the Social Security Administration's savings account. And when that's empty, benefits are going to be cut without some changes to the rules. To imagine this in an everyday example, imagine that you're working at a job and you make about $5,000 per month and you spend about $4,000 per month. Now, that extra money that you make over and above what you're spending goes into your savings account. And over time, this savings account has built up a nice fat balance. But then things change and you get a new job. And this new job is only paying you $3,000 per month, but you keep spending that same $4,000 per month. And for a while, that's not a problem because you can live partially off of your savings account. But once that savings account is empty, there won't be enough income coming in to pay for all of your monthly obligations. So you're going to have to find a way to cut expenses. That's nearly the exact situation for the Social Security Administration. For several years, there was more coming in than was going out. This excess was deposited into the trust fund. But now, due to a combination of factors, there isn't enough coming in to meet the monthly obligations, and the Social Security Administration has had to start pulling money out of their savings account or trust fund to pay benefits. Now, the balance of the trust fund is only expected to last until about 2033, another 10 years or so. And at that point, there just won't be enough money coming in to cover the expenses, and there'll be no choice except to cut benefits unless there are changes to the rules. This is not a maybe. This is law because the Anti-Deficiency Act prohibits government spending in excess of available funds. So once the trust funds run out, the Social Security Administration is just not going to have the legal authority to continue paying benefits. So don't let anyone tell you that's not going to happen. This is very clear. Either the law changes or benefits will be cut. Which circles us back to today's topic. If you know that there's trouble coming, should you file as early as possible to get full benefits while they're still being paid? Now, I've actually heard this as the rationale for choosing to file at 62 when it actually made sense for someone to wait until later to file. Now, the thought was pretty clear. The person said, I'd rather file at 62 and get a lower benefit for a few years before it gets cut than file at 67 and get a higher benefit for just 2 or 3 years before it gets cut. Now, this is looking at the filing decision purely as a break-even analysis, which I think has multiple issues, but I do understand why someone would think like this. But does this math make sense? Let's take someone who just turned 62. They could file now and get about $1,960 in monthly benefits, or they could delay until their full retirement age, let's just say that's 67 in this case, and add a 2% cost of living adjustment in there. Their benefit would be just over $3,000. So let's look at these benefits side by side and assume that benefits aren't going to be cut. And then we'll look at the same thing after an across-the-board cut. And we'll take this out to age 90, but you'll see that's not even necessary for the math to become pretty clear. So assuming there are no cuts, when you look at the cumulative benefits received for filing at 62 versus 67, those benefits cross over at about age 76. But let's assume that benefits are cut by 25% in 2033. There you can see the break-even age increases to about 77 and a half years old. So filing early for benefits based on a proposed benefit cut would be very slightly mathematically better for someone if they died before 77 and a half, but it's only a minuscule amount, and that's only looking at it through the lens of breaking even with cumulative benefits and not considering all of the other factors that have to be weighed in. So ultimately, I think filing early based on a proposed benefit cut is a bad idea, and the numbers simply don't support it. Now, do I think benefits are going to be cut? I know you're going to want to know that question down in the comments. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think that if you're 55 or older, the chance of an across-the-board cut to benefits is not very high at all. Lawmakers have a long history of phasing in changes slowly to the system, and I don't think the upcoming changes are going to be any different. There's just no way these politicians are going to take the political risk of changing benefits for people who are either already receiving benefits or close to receiving them. Instead, they're probably going to focus on the long-term actuarial balance of the trust fund and let the changes affect those who are under 55 or so. Now that's unless they want to wait until they're right up against the deadline and start playing political games like what we've been watching play out lately with the debt ceiling issue. But I do think that it's very likely that we're going to see reforms in the days ahead that will prevent an abrupt cut to benefits for certain people. And when those reforms start to work their way through, I'm going to be right here to keep you informed. So again, if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, you need to. Thanks so much for watching.